As you know, we have our committee Turning the Corner as we deal with racial tensions in this country. And so we have an opportunity to spend some time with our top law enforcement, top cop, right, has been dubbed?
Chief Law Enforcement Officer, whatever word people use.
Whatever title you want, we want to use it, right? But spring and summer, COVID-19 has got to have just given you all sorts of challenges as you give legal advice to the governor and everything else. You want to share with us some of those challenges?
This is a trying time. It's one that we need innovation here in Colorado, resilience to get through. And what you're doing here at CMU, responding to this crisis, is a model. We have to use all the tools we can in terms of staying safe. Social distancing, people are wearing masks here in a great way, and you've got a great testing protocol. This was all not on the radar screen in February, and now it's our lives. We're also working hard to protect people from COVID-related scams. A lot of people out there are getting told, hey, we've got a cure for you, or we've got a great way to help you figure out if you've got the virus, and a lot of it's not true. In fact, they're trying to get your information to hurt you. So be vigilant, be smart, be safe. We're all having to adapt during this challenging time.
And of course, like you didn't have enough on your plate, you have the coronavirus, and then we have the George Floyd unfortunate incidents, and again, racial tensions kick up. And so you spent some time this morning with our committee in Turning the Corner, and just your thoughts on how do we move forward, and how do we move forward with law enforcement in a productive manner?
Well, President Foster, what you're doing here is a model not just for Colorado, but for the nation. We have to recognize that our nation's history is one that has a very painful original sin, if you will, which is that we have not had equal treatment of everyone as our nation's history. Obviously, we came through slavery and Jim Crow, and even now, African Americans expect to be treated worse by the police. And the George Floyd killing showed the worst form of that. What we need to do is ask ourselves, how do we improve? How do we build better law enforcement, trust in law enforcement? A big part of that's going to be training and education and recruitment of the right sort of people in law enforcement. That was the core part of our conversation today. In our office, we oversee the Peace Officer Standards and Training Program, or POST, where we certify police officers. And we're committed to developing better strategies for de-escalation, for addressing implicit bias. And as we do that, we can build law enforcement that our communities can trust and be proud of. And what you're doing here is going to help us accomplish those goals.
Well, and I give you a lot of credit because you had a good conversation with folks from underrepresented minorities and people in our community that are wrestling with these problems. And then you also sat down with, and you had there one of the local chiefs of police, and then you sat down with local leaders of law enforcement, and bridging that gap and making some change and not throwing the baby out with the bathwater is really your challenge, yeah?
We have to recognize that we need law enforcement. We depend on law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And law enforcement recognizes, and your police chief in Grand Junction said it really well, that we have to improve. We have to listen to our communities. We have to be engaged with them. Part of what is to our advantage in Colorado is we're naturally collaborative. And so what happened here in Grand Junction, it happened in Denver too, is we saw law enforcement professionals, the police chief, engaging with protesters around the challenge of how we do better. And that's the spirit where I believe we in Colorado can excel and be a model for the nation.
You know, so you also met with some of our freshman students, and so as you look and around our country and the need for kids to get a college education, what advice do you have for kids from different socioeconomic and racial backgrounds as they consider their futures?
So Tim, what was great about the conversation this morning, and I love that you're so engaged with your students, is their intellectual curiosity, or to use another word, their learning mindset. So my advice for those starting college, soak up, not just from your classes, but from your classmates, from the football coach, from the president, from all sorts of interactions. What can I learn? That learning mindset is going to serve you really well, not just in college, but for your whole life. And that's something that we need. And part of that mindset needs to be a commitment to dialogue with people who are different than you. That's how you learn. I'm excited that you're doing that so well here. Again, a real model for our state. And I know we've got challenges. We've got a pandemic. We've got an economic crisis we're dealing with. And we're talking about the racial justice issues. But if we can work together, we're going to get through this.
we have the triple threat, right? It's just like so much fun to be in and around it. But we really appreciate you being in Western Colorado and taking time with us here, with our students and with our community. And so it's always nice to have you over here. And I know you come over frequently, so you're welcome to always come back. Next time you can stay at the Maverick
I love
Hotel.
it. This is a great hotel, great community. You're all lucky to be here.
Thank you.